In this video, I take a quick trip down memory lane and I give my new car its initial shakedown.
Max Vids.
The first car I ever bought myself was a 2002 WRX. A few cars later, I was back in a Subaru, but this time it was an 04 STI. And I loved both of them. So when I was looking for something a little newer and a little nicer than my current cars, naturally, I was considering WRXs. So after kind of looking for a car for a few months, this WRX showed up on a Facebook group. It was nice enough for me to get it, but needed enough work for me to enjoy it. And the price turned out to be right after a bit of negotiation. So yeah, I bought a WRX. And it needs a good bit of work. It is pretty beat up. Most of the interior looks pretty good, but the steering wheel has seen better days. And this shifter is very sloppy. So I decided to pull up the center console to see if there was anything obvious. So I've never removed any of the console that I can recall on a GD Impreza, but I imagine it is like other cars, and it is. So I'm going to remove those screws and see what that gets me, because I don't see any other screws on the side of the console or anywhere. Alright, so that helps some. But I started playing with this and it looked like it can pop out. What does this get me? I don't know yet. Not much. But at least I know I can disconnect this. So that's what I'm gonna do. I was making it too hard on myself. I tugged on this and it seems like it'll come out, but maybe I gotta take the shifter knob off. And it is weighted. It got some weight to it. It's a parent. All right, now I gotta figure out how to take this off. But it looks like an Allen head. It wasn't obvious to me how to get the shift knob off, but I found the instructions on the Perrin website. So let's see what we got going on right here. Now there is a lot of slop right here, but when I look at this, it looks like it's below. Let's see if I lock this in. No, it looks like a lot of it's right here. Not all of it, but a lot. So I'm gonna see if there's something I can do about that. And there are other mechanical issues. The previous owners mentioned that it does need front brakes, and you do get quite a bit of vibration when you stop. And if you take a look at the rotors, they are ridged pretty badly and pretty glazed over. So I decided to take the wheels off to take a closer look at the brakes. I think they said the key for the wheels was in here. There it is. They left some other stuff in the trunk that I will throw away. And since the vibration on the front is pretty bad and the brakes are a pretty high priority item, I'm gonna go ahead and start working on them. As I was jacking up the car, I also noticed an oil leak coming from the drain plug. Someone had used a plastic gasket on the drain plug. That's not right. I'm gonna go ahead and remove the caliper, but these are not the original calipers that came on the car. One of the previous owners swapped in 06-07 calipers. So when I go to purchase the pads and the rotors, I have to make sure I get the correct ones. And to take them off, there are 2 bolts back there, just like most calipers. Yeah, because it had that lip, so it was kind of stuck. After taking a closer look at the pads and rotors, it was obvious that I should replace them. So with that dangling, I'm gonna go ahead and pick up my parts. I'll be back. But before I left to go pick up the parts, I wanted to make sure I had the right drain plug gasket, and luckily, I did. So apparently, I don't throw away parts. So from a long time ago, when I had my Subarus, I still had some oil drain washers. This is the one that the Quick Lube place put on. And luckily, I still had some of these. So there we have it. I replaced the drain plug with the proper gasket. So I'm going to go to Auto Parts store, get another filter, and I'll be done with my oil issues, at least for now. So I picked up the oil and the pads, and now I got the rotors. So I'm headed back to the house. So I took off the old rotor. Then I cleaned the inner surface with brake parts cleaner. Then I placed it back on the hub and held it on with a lug nut. And then I cleaned the outer surface with brake parts cleaner. I'm just gonna vent the brake fluid reservoir. I then used a C-clamp and the old pads to compress the pistons back into the caliper. It took me a while to get it situated, but I compressed the backside the same way I compressed the front. But you had to go in between where it connects and the backside of that pot there. But I think I have them compressed enough now. And then I put the caliper back on. And then I removed the hardware so that I could remove the brake pads. I took out this wire clip, these two retaining pins, and then the remaining hardware just falls out. And then the pads were free. These already have a nice anti-vibration backing, but I'm in the habit of doing this, so I'm going to do it anyway. But these are some nice pads, actually. Like, that backing is actually pretty nice. And I know when I slide it in, this is going to get moved a little bit, but because of the way these go together. But that's okay. Yeah, these are actually nice. I don't even know if I need this stuff on these. This backing is good. While I was giving the brake disc quiet some time to set up, I went ahead and disassembled the driver's side. I was having trouble compressing the pistons back into the caliper on the driver's side, but that gave the brake disc quiet enough time to set up, so I was able to go back and go ahead and finish the passenger side. Putting the pads back in is pretty straightforward, but the rods that go through the top and the bottom of the pads have a hole on one side, and you have to align the holes such that you can get this clip back in each hole and through the caliper. Unfortunately, I am reusing the old hardware. There are a couple of ways to put it on, but I snapped it in like this. So the passenger side is done, but the driver's side, I am not having as much luck. I'm having trouble compressing one of the sides of the caliper, so I'm going to go try again. Something might be wrong with this caliper. I was having trouble compressing it, but in a last-ditch effort, I got this tool. It's a caliper spreader. One side has a machined out circle that mates with a magnet on this side, and the other side has a threaded rod connected to it. And if you ratchet it, put it in between the cowler and ratchet it, it spreads. This is my first time using one of these. This is the first one I bought. So I'm gonna give it a shot. So I figured out which way to put my ratcheting wrench in such that it spreads it. So now I'm gonna give it a shot. Yeah, it sort of works. It wants to move on me. Let's see if I can find a way to keep it down. To make a long story short, I tried to compress the pistons back into the caliper and they would not go. Yes, the brake fluid reservoir was cracked and I couldn't get it to go. I maybe got it to budge a little, but if it takes that much to compress it, something's wrong with the caliper. So I had to regroup. So I think these calipers are stuck. I am not sure if it's compressing at all. Well, I'm not happy about what I just had to do. I couldn't get the caliper to compress, so I put on one of the lesser worn old pads that would fit with one new pad over here and the new rotor. Hopefully that'll be okay until I either get some new calipers or this is high enough in the priority list for me to rebuild these. But I'm going to finish the oil change and wrap up this evening. So it looks like I won't be driving the WRX until I fix the brakes. And even though it's a lower priority, I'd like to fix the shifter too before I drive it a lot. If you'd like to follow along and see how I tackle those tasks, hit subscribe. Thanks for watching. Take care.